Good morning. Welcome to another fresh edition of your breakfast on Leadership Television inside Nigeria. Today is Friday. Thank God it's Friday, 5th September 2025. My name is Unifred Ugbebo, and today's program we're looking at what the papers are saying, including Nigeria's foremost Friday newspaper, Leadership Friday. We'll start off with leadership. Northern governors back Tinubu's renewed push for state police. Leading story on today's Leadership Friday. Arewa Consultative Forum, Afenifere, Middlebelt Forum also support President's resolve. That story is on page 4 of Leadership Friday. Northern governors back Tinubu's renewed push for state police. Arewa Consultative Forum, Afenifere, Middlebelt Forum also support President's resolve. Let's take some excerpts from that story. The Northern State Governors Forum, NSGF, has reaffirmed its full support for creating state police as part of efforts to tackle the worsening insecurity in the region and across the country. The reaffirmation comes after President Ahmed Tinubu renewed his resolve to ensure creation of state police. Ismaila Uba Misili, Director General of Press Affairs to the Chairman of the NSGF and Governor of Gombe State, Muhammadu Inuwa Yaya, disclosed this to Leadership Friday on Thursday, noting that the governors had already taken a clear position on the matter. Regarding state police creation, as far as northern governors are concerned, they have already made their position known when they met with the traditional leaders in Kaduna. He said the governors of the 19 northern states unanimously supported and adopted the creation of the state police to join other forces in curtailing the menace during the meeting. Excerpts from today's leading story on Leadership Friday, and the Punch also has similar story on state police. However, we continue with Leadership newspaper for front headlines review. Just beneath the leading story, still on the cover, after family of 3 tragic deaths, Abuja Council moves against touts. Leadership has been on this story, a developing story recently, because 2 days ago, a family of 3 died in a tragic manner, orchestrated by touts in Abuja. And today, Leadership Friday says, after family of 3 tragic deaths, Abuja Council moves against touts. The story continues on page 22 of Leadership. And on the pictures on cover yesterday, we also have the picture of the vehicles that were just beyond ruins after the aftermath of the accident. Police invite El-Rufai, 6 other ADC leaders for questioning. Italian fashion icon Giorgio Armani dies at 91. The story is on page 7 of Leadership Friday. Death toll from Niger boat accident hits 31. Tinubu begins 10-day leave. Wike unveils 50% fertilizer subsidy for Abuja farmers. Flood alerts issued to 9 northern, 5 southern states. That story is on page 10 of Leadership Friday. Flood alerts issued to 9 northern, 5 southern states. Towards the masthead of Leadership 2027 resurrecting zoning is regressive, coming from Olawepo Hashim support groups. One of looming consequences as Hashim vows to contest presidency. That brings to a close the review of front headline stories on Leadership Friday this Friday. However, we have pictures also of the Super Eagles actively training in Uyo yesterday as they prepare for their upcoming 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers against Rwanda and South Africa. Pictures gracing the cover. We move to the inside page where we have page 3, and the stand today is on corruption not peculiar to the police. Media reports indicate that the federal government has plans to introduce new uniforms for the police. According to that report, the reason is not to make the officers and men look smarter. No, it is intended to rid them of reservoirs for the alleged bribes and other illicit collections at checkpoints. On occasions, we have had to comment on the police operatives' tendency to vent their frustrations on the public for the ill-treatment they receive in the hands of their bosses, and a system that seems to have an axe to grind with the force, especially the so-called rank and file. We move towards the ending of the stand. What the police operatives deserve, and very urgently, is motivation, such that we make checkpoint ties undesirable. But it's imperative to stress that corruption is not essentially influenced by poverty. Most politicians, civil servants, judges, and other people, even in the private sector, who indulge in corrupt practices are not doing so out of want or abject penury. It is more of the primitive acquisitive tendency in man who steals what he does not need. Today's stand in leadership: corruption not peculiar to the police. From the patriarch stand, we move to the back page of the paper where we have conversation with Azu. Today's conversation is on why Jonathan won't contest whatever the court say. Why Jonathan won't contest whatever the court say. Today's conversation with Azu is here when in quote from that conversation: a short memory is why politicians take us for a ride. Jonathan must be pinching himself, surprised that his name is coming up at all. From that conversation, we move to Ghana Must Go. Ghana Must Go news: police collecting fare from a man and failing to show up is a punishable offense, coming from the police. And of course, Ghana Must Go asks, is it your show? Police, is it your show? It's on that note to conclude review of front headline stories on Leadership Friday, this Friday. For more, log into the website of Leadership, www.leadership.ng. We move ahead to the next paper with almost similar headline with that of Leadership Friday, and that is the Punch newspaper. The Punch leading story says, Afenifere, Northern leaders demand state police amid delays. Federal government defense delay, says security reforms undergoing due process framework with states. Afenifere, Middle Belt Forum, Pandef insists state policing overdue. Northern leaders press for action. For once, these regions are unanimous that the nation actually deserves state police, given the insurgency in the land. Beneath the leading story today, we have pictures of Muslim faithful across the world celebrating Eid al-Maulud, the birth of Prophet Muhammad on Thursday. And congratulations to our Muslim faithful all over the world. Happy Eid al-Maulud to you. Beneath those pictures of celebration of Eid al-Maulud across the world, we have Egypt, Palestine, Iran, and Yemen. We have train derailment sparks and ROC reorganization. Panic as 5 bodies found along Lagos River Bank. Panic as 5 bodies found along Lagos River Bank. CBT WAEC mandates 250 computers CCTV for schools. That takes us to the story beside the masthead of the Punch. Osun Agon challenges CBN over local government account signatories. Osun Agon challenges CBN over local government account signatories. Well, perhaps this is something that the CBN or the Supreme Court has to wade in after that historic judgment of for local government fund autonomy, but there's still so many lapses which has to be addressed so that local government can have their money directly from the CBN. Above the masthead of the Punch, federal government seeks fresh $1.75 billion World Bank loan. New parties seeking INEC registration surged to 171. Jonathan blames betrayal for 2015 election loss. That concludes review of front headline story today on the Punch newspaper. We move ahead to the next paper we have on our lineup, and that is This Day newspaper. This Day newspaper is talking politics, and of course, it's coming from Jonathan. It says Nigerian politics is full of traitors, liars. Jonathan, they will tell you something, the next hour they are saying another. Says he has witnessed a lot of betrayers. Jonathan, former president of Nigeria, Nigerian politics is full of traitors, liars. They will tell you something, the next hour they are saying another. Says he has witnessed a lot of betrayers. Above that, Tinubu departs Abuja for 10-day working leave in Europe. Police summon ex-Cardinal Governor El-Rufai orders for disturbance of public peace, just like we had on the cover of Leadership Friday. CBN replacing civil servants with APC members as local government account signatories, says Osun Agon. demands urgent investigation. CBN replacing civil servants with APC members as local government account signatories, says Oshun Agon, demands urgent investigation. Giorgio Armani, iconic Italian fashion designer, dies at 91. The story runs on page 6 of this day, just like we also have on the cover of Leadership Friday. It's on that note we conclude review of front headline stories on This Day newspaper this Friday. For more, log into www.thisdaylive.com. From this day, we also move to the next paper we have on our lineup, and that is Nigerian Tribune. Nigerian Tribune is still on that Jonathan leading story. It says most Nigerian politicians not dependable. Says politics in Nigeria is about betrayers. They will tell you something this minute, in the next hour say another, he adds. That story continues on page 4 of Nigerian Tribune. 1,844 killed in Southeast Nigeria between January 2021 and June 2023, according to Amnesty International. Tinubu embarks on 10 working days vacation, departs for Europe. Lagos government warns over looming environmental collapse of lagoon. Commissioner condemn illegal dredging. Oshun Agon raises alarm over alleged plot to divert local government funds. One CBN governor to investigate how the bank opened local government accounts with APC members as signatories instead of civil servants. Their submission lacks merit, should be ignored, Oshun APC. We move to the masthead of Nigerian Tribune, and above, non-oil revenue target, Obi tackles Tinubu. Wants president to suspend new tax regime, says leadership is about reducing burden. Showdown looms between Ayedatiwa, local government bosses on FARC front. That concludes review of front headline stories on Nigerian Tribune this Friday. For more, log into the website of Nigerian Tribune newspaper. We move ahead to the next paper we have on our lineup, and that is Vanguard. Vanguard's talking business. It says opposition mounts against federal government's 5% tax on petrol, diesel. Opposition mounts against federal government's 5% tax on petrol, diesel. Stakeholders push against Tinubu's 5% fuel tax. Will mobilize Nigerians against it, JAV vows. Why Tinubu's 5% fuel tax should wait, Peter Obi. 5% petrol tax, a cruel burden on struggling Nigerians, coming from ADC. We also have the picture of President Bola Tinubu in handshake with the Lagos State Governor as he jets out on annual leave. Beneath that story, we have 2027, just like Leadership Friday. Resurrecting zoning is regressive. Olawepo Hashim support groups. One of consequences as Hashim vows to contest presidency. We move to the masthead of Vanguard. Above that, we have federal government makes tax identification mandatory for banking allied services. Tinubu's development agenda driven by national interest, not politics, according to Minister. Oshun local government crisis, Agon, APC disagree over signatories to accounts with CBN. Ambassador Yisa says we won't allow APC rig 2027 polls. Why police, lastly, on the cover of Vanguard, police invite El-Rufai ADC leaders over alleged conspiracy incitement. As Governor Flay's move to stop opposition meetings. That also concludes review of front headline stories on Vanguard newspaper this Friday. For more, log into the website of Vanguard. We move ahead to the next paper, of course, a new paper that we are reviewing on our program today, and that is New Telegraph. New Telegraph's leading story says revenues have more than doubled since subsidy removal coming from federal government. Even PDP governors are happy with Tinubu, APC North Central chairman say, as ADC accuses government of monetizing hardship, forced revenue claims, 5% fuel tax, leadership not about imposing burdens, coming from the Labour Party presidential candidate for 2023 polls, Peter Obi. We also have the picture of the president as he departs for Europe on a 10-day working leave in handshake with the Osun State. Sorry, with the Lagos State people. Beneath that 1999 constitution has failed. Nigeria needs true people's charter. Wanchuku. Leaders should focus more on governance than politics. Iradia. 80 million youths unemployed in Nigeria, according to a report, and the report continues on page 2 and 7 of New Telegraph. It says about 1.7 million fresh graduates seek elusive jobs every year. Presidency to youth. Use opportunities in Tinubu's government to make positive impact. Excuse me. Accelerated brain aging. And that story is on page 30 of New Telegraph. Study links sugar substitutes to accelerated brain aging. We move through the masthead of New Telegraph. Underneath, Nigerians religious preaching. Imams pastors to obtain license before evangelizing. Niger bans religious preaching. Imams pastors to obtain license before evangelizing. The story is on page 27 of New Telegraph. And next says 2.8 million voters will elect Anabra's next governor. Number of associations seeking registration now 171. Now 15 terrorists killed in devastating Sambisa airstrike, says every successful strike. Italian Jogo Amani dies at 91. And above the masthead of New Telegraph, Ejun federal government committed to projected 10 BNSCF gas production. African Airlines at crossroads, 80% of routes unserved, coming from IATA. And that also concludes review of front headline stories on New Telegraph this Friday. For more, log into the website of New Telegraph. We move ahead to the last paper we have on our lineup this Friday, and that is The Guardian. The Guardian's leading story says how bias for sports entertainment reinforces school NASCAR myth. How bias for sports entertainment reinforces school NASCAR myth. It's a big story that runs on pages 4 and 5 of The Guardian this Friday. Police summoned El-Rufai as for alleged conspiracy. ADC Audu Obi for Tinubu's fiscal triumphs as cruelty over compassion. Osun Agon accuses CBN of sabotaging local government payments. Retired soldiers protest lacks merit, defense headquarters insist. 70% of telecom downtime linked to energy issues. We move towards the masthead. Tinubu embarks on 10-day working vacation in Europe. 80 million Nigerian youths jobless, 1,500 schools short in 2 years, says report. WHO, AU tax Nigeria on 2001 declaration, 20% public health spending. And that concludes review of front headline stories on The Guardian newspaper this Friday. For more, log into www.theguardian.ng. That concludes the review of newspapers on our segment Inside Nigeria today. And don't forget to link up to leadership website to read more on these stories. My name is Unifoy Dugbebo. Don't also forget to join us on this station for news on the hour. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last